Today we are doing two full reviews from ROJA Parfums of Isola Blue and Isola Soul. So we're going to start with Isola Blue first, and I'm going to start by reading you the official notes for this. Lemon, bergamot and lime with apple, coconut, champaca, cut grass, pink pepper and leather. So I'm just going to spray this one with a card just to remind myself of the initial opening. Obviously I did test it on my skin for the review. Okay, so what I get from the opening, you get this fresh, invigorating opening, slightly spiced, slightly fresh. It is definitely a fruity, citrusy opening. I'm not sure I totally get apple, so to speak, but there is maybe a slightly watery fruitiness, which I guess you could maybe vibe as apple. But for me, the main citrus in this as it starts to move forward is the lime note. I get lime, this again, fresh, clean opening, a little bit of the pink pepper. You do get a little bit more of that kind of aromatic spice quality to this that's, again, fresh spice. There does seem to be kind of a very clean kind of dollop of musk over the top of this. Although that's kind of how I perceive it. It's like this kind of bubble, so to speak, around the top of everything. There's something in here that, although it's not listed in the notes, actually comes across a little bit like ginger. Maybe that's just the way the other notes kind of are mixing. But there's ginger, obviously, is kind of this also a fresh kind of spice. So yeah, I got something that reminded me a little bit of ginger in here, although again it's not in the perfume, but I kind of get a kind of a vibe of that direction. The way that it mixes, this kind of fresh, citrusy, slightly spiced kind of feeling does kind of make my brain kind of go towards a more masculine leaning style fragrance rather than something that's feminine or perfectly unisex. I would say it is unisex, but it's just a little bit like, 5 minutes into the masculine maybe. After about half an hour on my skin, I feel like the lime became actually stronger than the initial top note. It takes like a little while for the lime to come through more on my skin. You kind of lose the pink pepper and the lime comes forward. It becomes even more fresh, even more citrusy, like half an hour in, which is kind of interesting. The champaca I don't think is particularly prominent in the blend. Mildly smooth, floral-like, but it's not a huge contributor. I feel like, on my skin at least, it didn't wow me in terms of this amazing quality floral. I don't get that impression from this one. 3 hours into the fragrance, I write in my notes that it became slightly leathery, so the leather note does come through. Musky, but a little bit bland. I think the dry down wasn't all that interesting, but you do get this very kind of smooth leather note coming through. At the 5 hour mark, I write faint skin scent, a little bit leathery, slightly creamy and musky. And so I don't know, I feel a little bit like it might be the coconut note adding this kind of slightly creamy, slightly lotion-ish kind of vibe in the dry down as it goes. Again, backed up by a very light, smooth leather. It's not an aggressive leather, it's not dirty, it's not overly, dominant, but you get this nuance of a very smooth, easygoing leather kind of mixed in. Going further into the dry down, around the 9 hour mark, I write that I started to get a kind of a feeling of a vetiver note. Vetiver is not listed, but I get this slightly more earthy, woody, rooty kind of texture in the far base, which, was going to remind you of like a vetiver dry down, for example. And so you get this kind of lime, fresh, pink pepper, spicy, fresh opening, going through into the mid, a little bit more of this kind of leather accord coming through into that mixture, into the dry down, into something that will remind you a little bit of something like vetiver, this slightly more woody, earthy, rooty kind of dry down, is the feel that I get from this fragrance. In terms of performance for Isola Blue, I would cap the longevity at around the 10 hour mark on my skin, so it's reasonably quite long lasting. The projection and sillage is modest. It's not a beastly fragrance, but it's also not completely dead. There is a little bit of life to it, and it does kind of lift off the skin, I would say, within the first hour. Beyond that, it does sit close to the skin, and the 3-hour mark, I would describe it as completely a skin scent without any kind of sillage. It might do better if you kind of over apply on your clothing, and it might lift off and waft from your clothing more than it would on your skin. Altogether, it's okay, it's pleasant enough, it's not remarkable, it doesn't blow me away, it doesn't leave a whole lot, much of an impression on me. I think it's a nice smelling citrus opening, and maybe a little bit falls flat in the dry down. The quality is kind of average. I don't think it's mind-blowing quality. It's standard, it's okay, it's a fine quality, but it's not in line with the pricing, I would say. I would say it's overpriced for the quality, obviously in my personal opinion. Clearly this is a summertime fragrance, and I would say it's a daytime fragrance. I feel like it probably can be pulled off both casual and dressed up. But yeah, it's a warmer weather fragrance. You could even wear it to the office probably. You would never offend anyone. It smells, appropriate in a professional setting. So it's kind of versatile, but it is more summer orientated. So the pricing for this is £385, close to £400 for a 50ml bottle. If you do price per ml and you make a 30ml bottle, which I can relate to as like my own branding, for example, it would be £231 equivalent pricing for a 30ml. I mean, £230 for a citrus. I don't smell any degree or quantity of high quality expensive materials that would warrant £231 for a 30ml. I mean, I make fragrances that have like 1960 Indian sandalwood in larger quantities, and it's nowhere near £230. I mean, I made an Ensar blend full of Ensar ouds that was like ridiculously expensive ouds with real ambergris tincture, and that was nowhere near this kind of price level. So for me, as someone who makes perfume and understands the business and understands quality of things, I think that the pricing is kind of laughable, to be honest. And obviously there will be people that will buy it, and if you like it, then fair enough. I just think you're not getting value for money. You are getting royally ripped, in my personal opinion. So we'll move on to Isola Soul, and there's only 3 notes listed officially for this, which is apricot, ylang ylang, and sandalwood. So what I get from this is a creamy opening. It smells like lotion, like moisturizing lotion that is lightly scented with ylang ylang. You're going to get this floral moisturizing cream smell, and that is it. I don't get a whole lot of the apricot. It doesn't smell particularly overly fruity to me. I think it's nuanced at best. I feel like this lotion, creamy moisturizing, slightly ylang ylang floral vibe is what you get from this, really. The fruity quality of apricot is minimal. At least on my skin when I wore it, I didn't really get a good vibe of apricot from this. My criticism of this one would be that it is quite singular, that it's not very dynamic, there's not a whole lot going on, it doesn't really have nuance, it smells very straightforward, very simple. You're going to get a big dollop of moisturizing cream smell that is woven in with a little bit of ylang ylang floral. You're going to get a floral, slightly sweet floral cream smell, and that is the core of the fragrance. I guess my problem is with this one is the pricing. It is priced the same as Isola Blue. It's very, very expensive, and the quality, in my opinion, isn't justified. It's not there. This pricing doesn't match the quality that I'm smelling. Sandalwood is listed. I don't get any large degree of natural sandalwood in this, or really any sandalwood. I think it's light, it's in the background, and the main focus is this accord that smells like, again, moisturizing cream with an ylang ylang accord woven within that. And so, again, the fragrance is incredibly simple to describe. At around the 9-hour mark, all I get was this very faint, musky, moisturizing cream smell on my skin that almost had a slightly watery-like quality to it. I'm not sure, but there was a watery quality to it and it smells like cream. So yeah, there's not much more I can say about this fragrance. I don't really get the apricot. I don't get a whole lot of sandalwood either. I get a nuance of ylang ylang with moisturizing cream. The performance for this one was average. Again, very similar longevity to Isola Blue. You're looking around 9 to 10 hours on your skin. And this one for me is disappointing. I don't think it's nuanced enough. I don't think it's interesting enough. There's not enough going on. I mean, it's just, it is what I just said it is. I mean, it's just not that interesting. Does it smell pleasant? Yes, it smells pleasant, but is it that price worthy of pleasantness? Probably not, no. I would describe this one very similar, that it is a summertime appropriate fragrance for the daytime, casual or dressed up. This one is definitely feminine leaning. The other one was maybe like, 5 minutes into the masculine on a clock. Both, generally speaking, both unisex, but this one is like maybe 15 minutes into the feminine. Some guys will happily wear it, others will be able to smell it and go, nope, that smells too feminine. So it really depends on the guy. I would say the vast majority of the human population will say this leans on the feminine side. That's it. That's 2 reviews of Isola Blue and Isola Soul. Personally, I prefer Isola Blue. I think it's horrendously overpriced. And so, yeah, I feel like this brand as a whole is vastly overcharged, at least for the quality of the perfume itself. Now, that isn't the only metric for why the pricing is the way that it is. You're not just paying for the perfume. To me, ROJA Dove is, and maybe this isn't quite an accurate comparison, but I was thinking of like, the kind of people that buy Louis Vuitton bags, for example. The people that are attracted to brand image, is my point, like people that want a Louis Vuitton bag and to show it off, are the same people that will buy things like ROJA Dove perfume. Now, the thing with like a Louis Vuitton bag is maybe you're getting a slightly better quality leather, maybe the stitching is a little bit better, but it's marginal. It's marginal. You can get a cheaper bag. What I mean by cheaper is you can get a bag that's less expensive monetarily, that is equal in terms of the quality of leather and stitching. What you're actually paying for is the logo and the brand name and the prestige that goes with the perceived value of looking at a person that has that can afford it. You see a person, you go, oh, they can afford X amount of money on this particular bag. And so it's like, it's more of a psychological thing. It's not value for the sake of it being well crafted. It's value in the sense of that brand name has a kind of a mental worth almost, rather than a physical worth. Does that make sense? And so with the ROJA Parfum, you're not getting high quality, natural, beautiful quality perfume that's really expensive perfumery. You're getting average perfume, but in a really nice bottle with a fancy brand name and a fancy jeweled cap and in a beautiful box. And then if people come to your house and they see they've got a ROJA Parfum on your bookcase, they're like, wow, that looks impressive. And it's a statement of wealth, just as a Louis Vuitton bag is. But my point is, it's not value for money in terms of the actual product, which is the perfume. The value in the product is in the brand name and the bottle and the box and the image of having a ROJA, because they're expensive, because you spent £400 on a perfume. And so I guess that's my criticism of the brand as a whole, is you are paying for the name and a bottle, you're not really paying for the perfume. It is marginally better quality than some other brands. The citrus is a nice quality citrus, but it's a citrus at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter how good the citrus oil is. It's not that expensive. Citrus oils are not crazy expensive. And with this one, sandalwood would be you know, an expensive material, except you don't smell it in this blend. You smell moisturising cream, which comes from a synthetic accord. Natural ylang ylang is heavily restricted by IFRA. You can use a tiny amount in a perfume. You have to use a synthetic ylang ylang or something to mimic the accord. And so you're not even paying for, you know, a generous amount of real ylang ylang because they can't actually legally use it in there anyway because of the allergy restrictions. So what are you paying for? I appreciate some of the bigger YouTubers do promote this one. More expensive fragrances that are gifted for free for review. I think reviewers should take into consideration the price and, in their opinion, whether or not they would spend it themselves. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you soon with some more. Take care, everyone. Have a good day.
Oh, that Harlem gives me Sunday headache. But that